Hello everyone, welcome back. So in the previous video we had completed the snack bar service for our application, and we had the snack bar service working. So every time the user performed an action in our application and we wanted to give him a response as to whether the action was successful or not, we would have the snack bar service actually display a snack bar in the application from the bottom. So what I would like to do in this video now is actually create the sign up page or registration page for our application. So with that out of the way, let's get going. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to our pages folder in the same way we did for our login page. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this file registration_page.dart. Once we have this, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to import the material library provided to us by Flutter. I'll create the corresponding registration page, and then I'm going to extend this from a stateful widget. Once this is done, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create the createState method for this registration page, and then I'm just going to remove this comment. Once we have that, I'm going to create the corresponding state class for registration page. So it's _registration page state, which is going to extend a state of type registration page, and then we'll create the build method for our registration page state class, and then I'll remove the comment here too. And then I'm going to, for our createState method inside of our registration page class, return an instance of our registration page state, and for our registration page state inside of the build method, I'm going to return a scaffold. And once we have the scaffold turn, we can actually work towards showing up the registration page on screen. So for now, what I would like to do is just do command save, go to our main.dart file, and then I'm going to import /pages/our registration page. Once we have that, what I'm going to do is for the home, I'm going to change the login page to our registration page. Then do command save. So now we are showing up our registration page. And in a later video, once we are done with our registration page, what I'll do is actually create the navigational service that is going to allow us to navigate in between pages of our application. And this service is going to work for all of the pages throughout our application, not just the authentication pages. And with that, we are now ready to start working on our registration page. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to define two doubles. One is going to be our device height. The other one is going to be our device's width, because we'll need them. Once I am done with that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, the same way I did in the login page, get the device's height using media_context.size.height. And then I'm going to get the device's width in a similar statement where all we would do is just access the device's width. So device width equals the media query.offContext size.width. I just copied these lines of code because we already did this step in our login page. Okay, once we have that, the next thing we're going to do is that for our scaffold, we're going to change the background color to the theme data color that we had defined inside of our main.dart file as our background color. So scaffold background color is theme.offContext background color. Once we have that, the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to define the actual body for our scaffold. So what we're going to do is that we're going to have a container, and this container is going to have an alignment, and the alignment is going to be alignment.center. The reason we need a container with an alignment is because if I open up the design files for our registration field and I drag them in, you're going to see that we center our column inside of the page. So we're going to put the column inside of a container that is then going to have an alignment of center, and this way our column is going to be in the center of the application. Okay, so now that the container is in the center of our screen, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to put in a child. And now this child is going to be a function, which is going to be a sign up page UI function. And then I'm just going to call this function. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define a new function, which is sign up page UI. And then I am going to then return the corresponding UI elements inside of this function. So what we have to return is going to be a container. And the reason we're returning a container and not a column is because we first have to define the height for our column, because if we just don't constrain the column, then it's just going to take up the height of its parent. And if we don't constrain our container, then it's just going to be 100% of the device's height. So all I'm going to do is do height, and then I'm going to do underscore device height times 0.75 to 75% of the device's height. I'm going to add the trailing semicolon to command save. Once we have that, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to define the child for our column. So the child is going to, or child for our container, and the child is going to be a column. The column then is going to have a main axis alignment. So how the children are going to be aligned on the main axis of our column. And since the column, this is a column, the main axis refers to the vertical axis, and then on our vertical axis we want main axis alignment dot space evenly. Once we have that, the next thing I'm going to do is that I am going to define the main axis size. So we want main axis size dot max, and then the cross axis alignment, which, or not the children, the cross axis alignment, which is going to be cross axis alignment dot start. After that, we'll have the list of children inside of our column. The first is going to be our heading widget. So this is going to be another function that is going to be responsible for generating our headings. And the headings refer to the two text. If I bring in the design files, the let's get going and please enter your details text. So all I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy this function in. And the reason I'm doing this, because this function is exactly the same as the heading widget function for our login page. Or if we named the function something similar, I think we named it heading widget, yes. So all I'm going to do now is that underneath of my sign up page UI, I'm just going to paste in the heading widget function. And then what I'm going to do is that I am going to have let's get going as the text, and please enter your details as another text. And now if I do Alt-Shift-F command save, hopefully the heading widget showed up on the page. The next thing I'm going to do now is that I am going to create the actual form for getting all of our information. So if I show you the design files again, you're going to see that we have a form that has a total of 4 elements inside of it. One is our image selector. So we click on this and we select the image that we want to upload to Firebase. The next is the name for our user, email, and then its password. So now we're going to work towards creating these. So I'm now going to copy this function, and what I'm going to do is that underneath of our heading widget, I'm going to create another function, and I'm going to call this function input form. And then I'm going to return inside of here a container. Once that is done, I'm just going to go to the top to our sign up page UI column, and then underneath of our heading widget, I'm going to put in the input form, then do command save. Once we have that, the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to now start creating the form. So first I'm going to define the height for our container, or the height for our actual form. So it's going to be the device's height times 0.35, so 35% of the device's height. Then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define a child, and this child is going to be a form. And then the form is going to have a key, which we'll define in a bit, and then an onChanged function, which I'll just keep empty for now. And then I'll have a child, which is going to be a column. Okay, now with that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to the top of our registration page state, and I'm going to create a global key. And this is going to be the form key, or a global key of type form state. So this is going to be the form key that is going to be responsible for keeping the state of our form. Then I'm going to create the actual constructor methods for registration page state. And every time our registration page state is instantiated, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to set the form key to a global key of type form state. With that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go to my form, and I'm going to assign the form key to it. Do Alt-Shift-F and do command save. Then inside of the onChanged function, all I'm going to do is that I'm going to do the same thing we did for our login page, and I'll do the form key.currentState.save. And then now I'm ready to define the children inside of our column. So I'll copy the main 3 attributes for our column, which is the main axis alignment, the main axis size, and the cross axis alignment. And then what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define the children. So the children inside of our column, if I bring the design files back on screen, are going to be firstly our actual image selector, then our name text field, our email text field, and our password text field. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define the image selector widget first. So I'll just call it image selector widget. And once that is done, I'm just going to do comma, Alt-Shift-F, Command, save. And then what I'm going to do is that I am going to go down and I'm going to define the actual image selector widget function. And then this function is going to return a container. So I'm just going to do container. And then this container is going to have a height. And this height is going to be the height of our actual container. So the height of our image, you could say, is going to be device height times 0.10. And then the width is going to be the same as our height because we want this to be a circle. So it's going to be the device's width. And then it's going to be times 0.10 and not the device's width, sorry, the device's height. And then Alt-Shift, and then we can do comma and Alt-Shift-F. Now with that done, what I'm going to do is that I am going to define the decoration for our container. And now this decoration for our container is going to allow us to actually set the background image for our container. And since we don't want to put anything inside of our container, all we want is the container to have the image inside of it, we can just easily use a decoration attribute for our container and set the background image there. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to define a new box decoration. Then this box decoration is going to have a background color, which is going to be colors.transparent. We do not want a background color for our container. The next thing is going to be the border radius. And the border radius, you can just set it to a arbitrarily large value. And this way the border would be circular. So I'll just do border radius.circular and then 100 or 500 worked good. Then do command save. The next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to define the image. So for now, what we're going to do is that we're going to get an image from the internet, and then later on in this section, we are also going to implement the actual logic for actually selecting an image and then updating it here inside of our image selector widget and actually saving a reference to it. So all we have to do then is that we are going to, for our image, set a decoration image. And this decoration image is going to have a network image. And the network image W is small. And then I also have to set the image here. Okay, now what I'll do is that for the network image, I'll copy this path in. And you can just get this path from the actual source code of this app that is provided to you in this course. Or what you can do is just use your own image, and then I'll do command save. Hopefully the image should load up. The last thing I'm going to do now is that I'm going to address the fit for our image. So inside of our decoration image, I'm just going to define the fit for our image, and I'm going to do box fit.cover. With that, I'm going to do Alt-Shift-F, command save. Finally, the last thing I would like to do before I end this video, because it's getting too long, is I'm going to go to the top of our sign up page, and I'm going to set the color of our sign up page to colors.red, just to show you how our column looks like right now. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to, to our container, add some padding to it. All I'm going to do is that I'm going to add the padding attribute to our container, and then I'm going to copy a line of code, which was really similar to what we had for our login page. And it's going to be edge_sets.symmetric, and on the horizontal axis, it's going to be device width times 0.10. Do command save, and this should hopefully fix all of the things for us. Lastly, what I would like to do is that I would like to put my image in the center of the column and not to the side like all of the other elements. And for that, what we can do is that we can go to our container, and for its alignment attribute, we can do alignment.center. I think this wouldn't work because this would align all of the children inside of the container to the center, but I want the container itself to be in the center. So all we would have to do is that we would have to take our container, put it or wrap it inside of an align widget, give it a child. The child is going to be our actual container. Do alt and then remove the semicolon, add it here, add a comma, alt shift F, and then for the alignment I can do alignment dot center. And with that I can just reload the app and hopefully everything should work. So now with that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to remove the color for our sign up page UI and do command save. And now in the next video, we are further going to develop our sign up page UI, because this video has been fairly long, and hopefully by the end of next video, we should have all of the elements showing on top of our screen. So with that, I'm going to end this video here. I'm going to see you guys in the next one.